Hello fellow traveling parents and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about what I wish I knew before traveling Europe with a baby or toddler. I spent a month in Europe with Adeline, both as a baby and a toddler. She was 5 to 6 months old when we went when she was a baby, and she turned 2 during our second trip. While we were there were some big differences in sightseeing around Europe with a baby versus a toddler, but these tips apply to both. In some ways, the experience is super different, but in some ways, it is very similar. So yeah, let's get into it. My number one tip for traveling Europe with a baby or toddler is not to switch your accommodations too often. The first trip that we took with Adeline, we spent the first 3 weeks out of the month in one location versus the second trip, we didn't spend more than 4 nights in any hotel or Airbnb. Switching every 3 to 4 nights wasn't too bad. If you only have like a week or two, I would definitely recommend doing that because that's how you're going to be able to see a lot of things. But switching every 2 nights was pretty rough. And switching every 2 to 4 nights for a month became really exhausting. If you have a shorter trip, I would say switching hotels or accommodations every 3 to 4 nights is good. Longer would make it even more relaxing for you, but it depends how many different spots you're wanting to see. And if you have a longer trip like we did whenever we were there for a month, I would try to stay in places for 4 to 7 nights or even longer if you want. Like I said, we did house sitting on our first trip, and so we spent 3 weeks at that one place, and it was really nice to be able to take day trips and really feel like we got to live as a local and see that area. But I feel like 4 to 7 days is kind of like a nice sweet spot where you get to see a lot, take a couple day trips, and not rush around too much and to not make it too tiring. My second tip is you want to take those first few days nice and slow because you're all going to be exhausted. While you definitely want to throw yourself into the new time zone and not let you or your little ones sleep too much during the day so that they'll adjust, you don't want to have those first couple days jam-packed with activities. I would say the first 2 days after you get there, just take it nice and slow. Maybe do a couple things, but make sure that you're back so they can have really good nap times in the room and start to get adjusted to the time change. And then by day 3, you will probably be ready to really hit the ground running. Also, I do want to point out that travel days are hard, and getting to Europe, if you're from the US or another country, can be a really long day. So I like to think that the destination is worth the journey, and you might have a really hard travel day, but try to keep that in mind and keep that perspective. I know that I do on the travel days because sometimes they can be really hard. Another tip, bring a travel stroller. Some places in Europe can be super stroller friendly, whereas others are not. So having a nice trifold travel stroller can make it so much easier whenever you're having to fold it up quickly and take the stairs up the metro or wherever else isn't stroller friendly, because not all the metro stops have elevators. Our stroller even fit in the overhead compartment of the airplane, and this was super nice because we had a connection, an international connection through Amsterdam on our way to Portugal, and we did not see our stroller during that connection. This actually happened on our flight to Spain too, whenever she was 6 months old, but we didn't have a small enough travel stroller then. I really like having a small travel stroller that can fit in the overhead compartment for going to Europe, specifically because I know that we aren't going to get it back during our connection, and that makes connections a lot more difficult. Also, if you're questioning bringing a stroller, I highly recommend it. First of all, even if your toddler might not sit in it all the time, it's a great place to hold your stuff. It's a great spot for naps if they do stroller naps, and you are going to be doing a lot of walking. I can't imagine not having a stroller unless your kid is just so good at walking 10,000 plus steps a day. I also really highly recommend packing light, especially if you're switching hotels often. This can be hard whenever traveling with a baby or toddler, but the biggest tip I have for that is to plan ahead. So make a list of everything that you think that you need and then narrow down that list a couple days later, and then pack based on that second list. You can also bring enough diapers and wipes for the first couple days, then buy more in your destination. Be sure to use travel size items for toiletries and use compressible packing cubes to save space. Also, don't overpack clothes. Bring enough clothes for about 7 to 10 days, and then find somewhere to wash them at your destination, or you can wash them in the hotel room, or you can just wear everything twice and hopefully not smell. I also recommend always having snacks in your bag. Whenever you're in touristy spots, sometimes there's a lot of snack options and sometimes there's hardly any. Like when we were in Sintra, Portugal, up at the palaces, there was only one place to get food and the line for it was like 30 minutes long. And in town, everywhere we went was cash only and we didn't have cash. We were grateful that we had snacks packed in our bag, but we still had to figure out a way to get lunch, and that was a little difficult. A bonus tip here is to have a little bit of the local currency on hand so you don't get caught in some situation where you need cash and don't have it. And speaking of cash, another tip that I just thought of right now is to get a credit card with no foreign transaction fees, because you're going to be using a card a lot. Most places do take card. It's just easier to have than having a whole bunch of cash. So look into getting a travel credit card with no foreign transaction fee. I can link the ones that I have down in the description below. Furthermore, on snacks, I like to pack some tried and true snacks from home that I have that are a safe bet, and then if I run out of them, usually they'll have something super similar at a grocery store, like Go-Go squeeze packets. They'll have, you know, applesauce packets just in another brand. But having those snacks that you know that they're going to eat, even if the food's a little different and they're not enjoying it, helps keep your baby or toddler happy. It's also super helpful to keep everyone happy by mixing in a few kid-friendly experiences with your more adult-oriented experiences. For example, if you're going to the Eiffel Tower, go to the merry-go-round in front of the Eiffel Tower. If you're going to a museum, go there and know that you might only get 30 minutes or an hour there, and go to a park after so that they can run around. Or another tip that we really like to do is plan museums for nap time. Addie takes good stroller naps. This was a great way for us to feel like we got a little date quiet time, relaxing museum time in, and she still got a really good nap because it's not a super loud space. Everyone was happy, and then we could go to the park or merry-go-round after the museum whenever she woke up. Also, it's really good just to know that you're gonna go at a slower pace. Don't jam-pack your itinerary with 7 sites that you're gonna see a day and that you're gonna get to everything right, on the minute with no breaks. I would pick 2 to 3 major things that you wanna see a day, and then have a few extra things that this would be great that if we could do this as well. Planning those days out so they're not so jam-packed will keep your expectations in check, keep you guys from becoming frustrated, and make sure that you guys are all having a good time, because I firmly believe that your baby or toddler also feeds off your energy. Another thing to note is that in some European countries, dinner is super, super late. For example, in Spain, a lot of places don't even open for dinner until 8 p.m. It's really good to know that ahead of time and prepare for it. You can either adjust your baby or toddler to that time zone and to eating that late, or you can go to a local food hall or grocery store or fast food restaurant that is open during that time, or get food and cook back at your Airbnb. There's a lot of options, but it's just important to prepare and know about that in advance so you're not caught off guard and have a hangry baby or toddler, and that never goes well. I hope that these tips are super helpful in making your trip a little less stressful and a little more fun, because I firmly believe that successfully traveling with babies and toddlers and being able to enjoy it is really all about the planning. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe so you can see more videos about traveling with babies and toddlers. I'm now 37 weeks pregnant today, so there's going to be a new baby coming super soon, as well as a 2.5-year-old that I'm going to be traveling with. So I'm going to have lots of tips and lots of travel vlogs on here. Be sure to like and subscribe, and if you've been to Europe with a baby or toddler, comment something that you wish you knew before your trip. And if you have an upcoming trip, comment where you are headed to. Bye, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week.